Hi everyone, great news for all OutSystems developers, especially the ones that want to integrate an MCP server made in OutSystems with the external world. So yes, since last week, it is now possible to test an MCP server created in OutSystems using ChatGPT. And today I'm going to show you how to do that. And also I will take a chance to talk a bit about some improvements I made on the MCP server, especially on the part of function calling or tool calling. Let's go. So in the last video, I've showed a bit the MCP server application that is now available on the Forge. You guys can download it and use it. So just to do a very quick wrap up, this is an MCP server. So it has all the defined functions that exist in the protocol. And we have here the possibility to list and request every type of the three capabilities that an MCP offers. So a prompt, resources, and tools. And in this case, with this application, it was also created an OutSystems application to manage servers, to create many MCP servers as desired, and inside of each of these servers, we could define tools, resources, and prompts. So if you are interested in knowing more of how this works, check out the previous video of how to implement an MCP server in OutSystems. For today, I'm going to show you a real cool thing. So right now, we have the MCP server, right? And I've created here an hr MCP server that is connected to an employee management application, an HR management application, and it has here two tools. So one, it can list the employees, give a list of employees that exist, and then it can ask for more information about a specific employee by giving the employee ID. And we will go through this, but just for now, this MCP server exists and it's connected with this application, the HR management. So we have here the employees and we have these two employees. And for each one of these employees, we can have an ID, a name, some main information as the department and the role. And then we can also add some additional information, in this case, working hours, the relationship status, number of children, and the contract starting date. So this currently allows us to create very simple employees for the HR to manage. So we have these two employees here, right? So if we go to OpenAI and if we are inside our platform, we can go to the chat and create a new chat. So when we create here a new chat, and we can configure by giving instructions, by giving some previously prompts, but we can also add tools. And inside of the tools, we have here many tools, and specifically the first one, the MCP server. So before, in the previous video, if I would go, or before last week, if I would go here and I would add the OutSystems MCP server, it would give an error because he would be trying to connect only using server-side events, and it does not work because OutSystems does not allow currently to create such connection. So it can only use HTTP. So right now, with the launch of ChatGPT 5 or GPT-5, I believe that they also took the opportunity to release new capabilities on connecting with an MCP server. This way now allowing to connect only using HTTP. So right now, if we connect to our HR MCP server, and if we create it, let me just pick here the token. So if we connect, he will be able to establish a connection and then get the list of tools that exist. So we can see here the list employees and the get employee information. And we can also say if we want always for the bot, the chat, to ask first permission to call a tool, or never, or configured specifically on a certain tool. So in this case, for this purpose, I will put never because I don't mind if he calls directly the tools. So now that we add, we can see here that it has the OutSystems HR MCP. So right now, if I go here to the chat and say, hey there, can you tell me the list of employees that the company have? We will see that in this case, he will detect that there is a function in the OutSystems MCP, and he will fetch or he will call the tool to fetch the employees. So right now he is reasoning, he is checking the results, he is calling. Now we can see him calling the list of employees, and finally here it is. Here's the current employees lists I have, Claire and John. And so if we even ask him, can you tell me more about Claire? Let's see if he has the intelligence. Yes, so he noticed that we have here a get employee information, that he needs to pass the employee ID number, in this case 1, to fetch more information about Claire. So let's just wait a second, and here it is. Full name, employee's ID, department, contract start date, working hours per week. So right now this is really cool because finally we are able to test an MCP server created in OutSystems using an external agent provider like ChatGPT, or in this case GPT, because we can only use this in our own chat inside of projects. We cannot use this directly on ChatGPT. But this is already a huge news because this allows us to, or at least allows me to know that I'm on the right track of developing an MCP. So this was the first thing I wanted to show you. Now, the second thing is related with the changes I made on how we call a function. Because so far, if you guys remember the last video, when we called a tool, we were dealing with the tool directly here on the code. So I left here this test tool for you to see that we used to have like a get tool. Then if it is this, do this. If it is that, do that. If it is the other, do other, and so on. So this would basically, it would mean that we would have to put all the logic of calling a tool inside of this action. And so if by any chance we would have actions that exist on other systems, such as this HR system to get the employees, we would have to add references and then put it here hard-coded. And so if we tried to create or if we wanted to change any parameters, or if we wanted to update, we would always have to be careful to update this also here in the code. So the idea that I had was to use an internal API call to allow to dynamically call the functions that exist on other applications. So right now what it happens is that when we go to the server detail and we open one of the functions, we can put here in the internal tool endpoint, we can put the name of the application where it exists and the API key, just for protection in this case, to not make this API open to the world. So in this case, we would put the application name of this application, so you can see here. And then by creating a common naming convention between the APIs. In this case, I call here internal MCP, and then we say, I've put here app name, I put the function name, and what I basically do is he always tries to call the API that will trace to an internal application. So in this way, I call this API. If it doesn't exist, it got here an error, and it will retrieve an error that it was not possible to call the function. But in this case, you may see that I'm calling the API, and then I'm passing the app name, I'm passing the function name, I'm passing the arguments of the function, because it might have arguments or not, and the API key. And here, if I go to the system, to the HR system, you can see that I have then exposed here an internal MCP API with the two tools or functions that exist. So you can see list employees, and you can see get employee information. And you might notice that it has exactly the same name of the tools that exist here, get employee information. So with this, it does not solve completely the need that we have to depend only on code, on developers, and we still have to manually create the input schema and then create these APIs, right? Not to mention that in terms of application objects, this is more costly because we need to create APIs, but at least it solves the problem of taking away from the MCP server the need to call or to reference the service actions from other applications. So from now on, we don't need to change anything else in here, because if we want to scale to more functions, we just need to create the APIs in the target applications. So I hope that you guys get really excited as much as me of finally being able to test this using, in this case, ChatGPT. I think this is a really cool feature, and I'm going to play more with this to see how far we can go. I can tell you already that this HR or this MCP capabilities on ChatGPT is still a bit limited. For example, I know that they currently do not process images, and the reason for it is because if I call the tool of getting employee information, like for example I have here, so you guys may see that if I call the tool, I give back two things. So I gave the employee full information, but I also give the image. I also give this image that you guys see here. And right now, I notice that when I ask for ChatGPT or GPT to show me the image, he cannot process that. He cannot understand that he received an image. And even if we go to the get employee information, we see that he only gets the text messages. He does not get images. But so far, so good. We hope that they continue to evolve, and also that other modules start getting, or other providers start having also this capability like Mistral, for example. And yeah, let me know, guys, if you have any ideas of how we can evolve this, or any other projects to do related with this. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. Have a great day.